Good evening, everyone. My name is Yogi Sikri, and I'm VP of Products at Agnity. And I have with me Atul, who is part of our healthcare vertical. We are essentially a product and services company and background in SIP and multi-protocol application server. And what we've been really doing, and also what we'll present in this session, is how we are essentially combining unified communication with enterprise mobility. So some of the key areas that we focus on, which is also essentially where we focus on and where our differentiation is one, how do you actually take communication and combine that with business processes? And we'll see a demo that sort of goes through that. The second thing is communication and collaboration in context. So we really see context as a huge, if you will, differentiation that organizations can bring. And by that, what we mean is, let's say it's a healthcare application. In the case of a healthcare application, a patient is really the context. In the case of a customer care, the actual subscriber or the user who's interacting with the backend, he's the context. So how do you actually collaborate and communicate in context? We'll take a look at that in our demo. And the third is enabling new vertical business models. And again, we'll get to that. So essentially what we have is a platform which is composed of three key parts. The first is a common platform, which is the underlying capabilities both around communication, as well as what we essentially have are business connectors. So in the case of what we have as an organization, we have a healthcare IT business connectors that are available for integrating communication with healthcare. On top of that, we've basically built a common framework, which are available as APIs. And using those APIs, you can either get the out-of-the-box applications that we have that our customers basically use out of the box to essentially do communication and then inject business processes in them. Or if they have business processes, they can essentially take our communication widgets and inject them into their business processes. Plus, we essentially provide a healthcare vertical application that essentially lets you do in-context collaboration for doctors who essentially want to interact with their staff, as well as do things like telemedicine. So we'll essentially look at a demonstration of both of these capabilities. We'll see two different user stories. The first user story is, okay, so I think we need to switch to this.
Go back to PPT.
I'll just end that, right?
Skip it.
All right, perfect. So this is essentially a unified communication client that we have. And what you see here is, this is a web browser. And in the browser, you essentially have a bunch of communication features, like all my contacts, my calling history, all the people that I've called, and essentially the ability to essentially make phone calls as well, and do messaging, etc. And this is essentially embedded with a bunch of other features that I need. So for example, in this case, this is embedded into my voicemail, into potentially looking at the weather, looking at the news, etc. And that is how we essentially see WebRTC in general, taking communication and combining that with business processes. Like, this is essentially an example. This is actually one of our customers has taken this, and they've built this as their subscriber portal. So what we'll do here is, I have my contacts, essentially the use cases that I'm traveling, and I have this client with me. I essentially see that one of my colleagues is basically online, and we will see if we can essentially initiate a video call with that. And I have Atul here. Hopefully, he'll receive the call, and we'll get on a call. Okay, Atul, yeah, all right. So that's Atul right there. And so essentially what we can do is we can have two users communicate. I also have features like basically doing conferencing and doing call transfer, etc. So right from the front-end client that I have, I can essentially do the multi-communication through the client, as well as get access to the other services that I need. And we are seeing this, more and more in how the actual industry is going, where, your web is becoming the central point for all your communication, both audio, video, as well as to do the existing processes that you do. So next, we'll switch gears and we'll look at a different use case of, basically a healthcare vertical, how the healthcare vertical is taking the same technology and basically adopting it to their vertical use case.
Sure. I'm just getting it.
So what we're basically doing is we are taking an iPhone and we're taking an iPad, and we are essentially projecting that using Air Server. I'm not sure why the orientation is. All right, that's better. Okay, I think we're in business. So Atul, take it away.
Sure. So this use case is about using unified communication along with. Thank you. So this use case is about using this unified communication and contextual communication infrastructure and provide a collaboration solution for healthcare IT. Now, in this solution, what we're going to show you specifically right now is two clinicians who are collaborating using patient as the context. So on my device, I will go to patients, and among these, I search specifically for a patient called Tom. And I go to this patient's charts, and I see various reports. Let me go to a lab results, and let's say this is the lab result that we have just received. And I need to discuss this with a specialist, so I tap on the clinicians button on the right top corner, and I get a list of all the clinicians that are involved with this patient. And I see Dr. James McAvoy, who is the person that I need to talk to. I bring this one up, and I send a text message. Now, while I'm sending it, the patient record comes at the bottom, and I just ask the doctor to see this result, and I send it over. Now, what happens at this time is the message is sent, and the other doctor, Dr. McAvoy, who's on the left side, should receive the message any second now. And basically, the patient attachment, which you see at the bottom of this screen, is the one that will also get over to the doctor, and the doctor will see the same charts that I was looking at, and therefore the context is passed on to the other doctor as part of this text communication. You got, but it's not, okay, there you go. Right. And in addition to such kind of, you see the other message now showing up on the other side. In addition to being able to send messages, I can also make a phone call, and the phone call can carry this context information exactly in the same way. Now, you see very quickly that there is the reference of the patient's record is being carried, and when the call goes to the other side, it will also carry the same context information. So through the call, the context of the patient will be carried, and while the two are talking, the patient information will be carried over, and both can have an objective discussion using that information. Thank you very much.